Once upon a time, a man named Jacob went to see Gautam Buddha, seeking advice on how to control his emotions. Jacob had been struggling with intense feelings of anger and frustration, which often led him to act in ways he later regretted. He deeply desired to learn how to manage his emotions better so that he could lead a more peaceful and harmonious life. Buddha smiled and asked him to sit down. "Let me tell you a story," he said. "Once upon a time, there was a wise and powerful king who ruled over a prosperous and flourishing country. One day, after hearing countless tales about the wisdom and intelligence of a neighboring kingdom's ruler, he decided to embark on a journey to visit this famous sovereign and witness his wisdom firsthand. Upon his arrival at the neighboring kingdom, he was greeted with great honor and treated as a highly esteemed guest. The wise king of that land had already prepared a grand and lavish feast in his honor, ensuring that his distinguished visitor felt truly welcomed and respected. During the grand feast that had been prepared in his honor, the visiting king was enjoying his meal when he suddenly noticed a small fly floating in his bowl of soup. Feeling disgusted and displeased by the sight of it, he immediately called for his servant and sternly ordered him to bring another bowl of soup right away. The host king, who had been observing the situation, gently intervened and said with a calm demeanor, "Your Majesty, please do not let such a trivial matter upset you. It is merely a small fly, and it should not be something that disturbs your peace or enjoyment of this wonderful meal." However, the visiting king, still visibly displeased, firmly responded, "I simply cannot tolerate such things, no matter how small or insignificant they may seem. Even the presence of a tiny fly has the power to ruin my mood completely, and I refuse to overlook it." The wise king smiled gently, his eyes filled with understanding, and said, "Your Majesty, if I may, allow me to offer you a valuable piece of advice that I have learned over the years. It is not the small fly that has truly ruined your mood, but rather your own reaction to it. The fly itself is insignificant and harmless, yet it has managed to disturb your peace, not because of its presence, but because of the way you chose to respond to it. Remember, you possess the power to control your own emotions, and you must never allow them to gain control over you. True strength lies in mastering your reactions, for only then can you achieve true inner peace and wisdom." Realizing the depth of wisdom in these words, the visiting king returned to his own kingdom with a newfound perspective on emotional control. Determined to change, he made a conscious effort to practice the art of not reacting impulsively to situations that had previously triggered strong emotions within him. With patience and dedication, he gradually learned to master his responses, choosing mindfulness and self-awareness over instinctive frustration. Over time, he discovered that by maintaining his composure even in the face of challenging or unexpected circumstances, he could make wiser, more rational decisions that benefited both himself and his kingdom. The power of not reacting is an essential lesson that holds great significance for every one of us. Far too often, we allow ourselves to respond to situations without first pausing to think, which can lead to unnecessary misunderstandings, conflicts, and regrettable consequences. Reacting with anger, frustration, or impatience not only harms our relationships, but also clouds our judgment, preventing us from making sound decisions. However, learning the art of not reacting does not mean suppressing or ignoring emotions. Emotions are a natural and important part of the human experience, and acknowledging them is crucial for personal growth. Instead of giving in to knee-jerk reactions, we should take a step back, allow ourselves a moment to process our emotions, and choose to respond in a way that is thoughtful, constructive, and in alignment with our true intentions. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, a young man named Michael, who was 28 years old, found himself struggling with emotional self-control. He often reacted impulsively to difficult situations, allowing his emotions to dictate his words and actions. In moments of anger or frustration, he would say hurtful things without thinking, unintentionally damaging his relationships with friends, family, and colleagues. His inability to manage his emotions led to frequent misunderstandings, unnecessary conflicts, and growing regret over the things he said and did in the heat of the moment. One day, Michael made a firm decision to take control of his emotions. recognizing that his impulsive reactions were causing more harm than good in both his personal and professional relationships. He understood that his tendency to react without thinking often led to unnecessary conflicts, misunderstandings, and regret. Determined to bring about positive change in his life, he actively sought ways to manage his emotions more effectively. He began practicing mindfulness and meditation, which allowed him to become more aware of his thoughts and feelings instead of being controlled by them. In addition, he made a conscious effort to practice the art of not reacting impulsively. Whenever he found himself in a situation that would typically trigger anger or frustration, he took a step back, paused for a moment, and took a few deep breaths before choosing how to respond. Initially, this new approach proved to be challenging. He still experienced feelings of irritation and frustration, but instead of immediately reacting in a negative way, he practiced self-restraint. He reminded himself that he had the power to choose his response, rather than letting emotions dictate his actions. Over time, as he remained consistent in his efforts, controlling his emotions became much easier. He found that he was able to maintain a sense of inner calm even in difficult situations. As a result, Michael noticed significant improvements in his relationships. He was no longer getting into unnecessary arguments over trivial matters, and his ability to communicate with patience and clarity helped him foster deeper, more meaningful connections with others. His newfound emotional control not only improved his personal life, but also enhanced his overall sense of well-being, allowing him to navigate life with greater confidence and peace. One day, a close friend of Michael's came to him seeking advice, feeling completely overwhelmed by the challenges he was facing. His emotions were running high, and he struggled to find clarity amid the chaos in his mind. Michael, recognizing his friend's distress, chose to listen attentively, offering his full presence without interruption. When his friend had finished speaking, Michael responded with gentle and comforting words, reassuring him that things would get better and that he had the strength to overcome his struggles. Grateful for the support, his friend looked at him with admiration and said, "You always know just what to say. No matter the situation, you never seem to get angry or upset." Michael smiled warmly and replied, "It's not that I never feel angry or upset. I experience these emotions just like everyone else. The difference is that I have learned how to control them, rather than allowing them to control me. It's a skill that has taken time and practice, but mastering it has significantly improved my relationships and my overall well-being." Intrigued and impressed by Michael's ability to stay composed, his friend became curious and asked how he had learned to manage his emotions so effectively. In response, Michael shared his personal journey, how he had struggled in the past, how mindfulness and meditation had helped him gain self-awareness, and how practicing the power of not reacting had transformed his life. Encouraged and inspired by this wisdom, his friend decided that he too would give it a try, eager to cultivate the same sense of emotional control and inner peace that Michael had achieved. Over time, Michael became widely recognized for his remarkable sense of calm and his thoughtful approach to life's challenges. No matter how difficult or stressful a situation was, he handled it with grace and composure, never allowing his emotions to dictate his actions. His ability to remain level-headed in even the most testing circumstances earned him the admiration and respect of those around him. People were drawn to his strength, resilience, and wisdom, often seeking his advice when they faced personal struggles of their own. By remaining committed to practicing mindfulness, self-awareness, and emotional control, Michael continued to refine his ability to navigate life with patience and understanding. He discovered that true strength did not come from suppressing emotions, but rather from acknowledging them and choosing how to respond wisely. Through his dedication to mastering the art of not reacting impulsively, he ultimately found a deep sense of inner peace and happiness that enriched both his personal and professional life. The power of not reacting is a truly valuable skill that each and every one of us has the ability to develop over time. It requires patience, dedication, and consistent practice, but the rewards that come from mastering this skill are incredibly worthwhile. By learning to control our emotions and choosing not to react impulsively, we can significantly improve our relationships, make wiser and more thoughtful decisions, and ultimately lead a more fulfilling, balanced, and meaningful life. The moral of the story, both from the experiences of the wise king and from Michael's journey, is that we all possess the power to control our emotions. While we may not always have control over the events and circumstances that occur in our lives, we do have the ability to determine how we choose to respond to them. By practicing mindfulness, cultivating self-awareness, and mastering the art of not reacting, we can train ourselves to manage our emotions in a more intentional and thoughtful manner. This valuable skill has the potential to transform our lives in profound ways, leading to stronger relationships, greater emotional well-being, and an overall improvement in our quality of life. Let us commit to taking the necessary time to practice, nurture, and develop this powerful ability, allowing it to shape our lives for the better and bring us greater peace, wisdom, and fulfillment in the long run.